Total Recall is a film that often pulls people toward one big question: what's real and what isn't? And that is an interesting question, but there's something else interesting happening in this film. Because it doesn't just give us a world to think about, it gives us something to look at. The way the image is framed, the way space is arranged, the way everything is presented to us. It starts to shape how the film feels before we ever decide what it means. There's something about the way this image feels. Like the scene should make sense. Like everything in the frame is where it's supposed to be, but it never quite settles. And then, every once in a while, a moment does. And then that's when something starts to feel off. You may have felt that watching this film in different moments, without really knowing why or stopping to take a second to think about it. So instead of asking what this means, I want to stay with that feeling for a moment to see how the film creates it and where that feeling takes us. This is Beneath the Frame, where we take a closer look at how film creates deeper meaning. Let's start with something simple: a dining room. There's nothing wrong with the space itself, but the way it's presented, nothing quite lines up the way we would expect it to. The panels, the view screens, they feel like they should form a clean structure. The table feels like it should anchor the space. The composition almost feels balanced. But if you follow the lines for a moment, they don't quite sit where you expect them to. It almost works, but not quite. Even earlier, this image is also framed as if it should settle. There's a kind of undeniable majesty to it. The openness, the scale, it invites you to feel like you can settle into it. But again, something doesn't quite sit right. The space, it pulls you slightly off to one side. The figures never quite seem to be in the center. The balance feels just out of reach. And once you start to notice this in this film, you start to notice and feel it everywhere. And then, every once in a while, the film does something different. Everything lines up perfectly. I mean, look at this image. The frame is centered. The space is balanced. Nothing is drifting anymore. For the first time, it actually settles, but it doesn't feel right. I mean, you can see it on his face. It feels controlled, And it's not just here in this image. Whenever the film allows this kind of sterile clarity, it tends to happen in spaces where something is being decided or imposed or taken away or threatened. At one point, the film even calls this out.
So why am I still alive?
We gave you lots of help. Benny here.
My pleasure, man.
Guy with the suitcase, the mask, the money, the message from Hauser. All of that was set up by us.
Sorry. Too perfect.
And that's exactly how it feels. And maybe that's the point. Because in this world, perfection doesn't feel natural. It feels imposed, sometimes even threatening. And then, once, the film lets everything finally come into alignment.
What do you want, Mr. Quaid?
The same as you, to remember.
But why?
To be myself again.
You are what you do. A man is defined by his action, not his memories. Please, take my hand. Now, open your mind to me, please. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
Does not feel forced. It is not imposed on us. It feels real. Because nothing about this moment is trying to be perfect. The image isn't clean. Kuato's body isn't symmetrical. Even his eye, it's not clearly defined. It almost shifts as you look at it. And it doesn't need to be perfect. So maybe this isn't about fixing the image or forcing it into alignment. Maybe this is what it looks like when nothing is trying to control it. And maybe that's the difference you may be feeling. When alignment is forced, it feels like control. But when it's allowed, when nothing is trying to fix the image, when the moment is just allowed to unfold, that's when it actually lands. Not because it's perfect, but because it isn't trying to be. And once you start to see it, it's hard to ignore. The moments that almost line up. And in this film, there are so many of them. The ones that feel just slightly off. Again, so many of them. And the rare moments where everything suddenly clicks into place. So I'm curious, as always, what stood out to you? Not just here, but anywhere you've seen something like this before. A shot that felt strangely unsettled, or a moment where everything aligned and you weren't quite sure why it felt different. But once you start noticing it, you start to see it everywhere beneath the frame.